Of all the masks pride wears, the most cunning is the one that looks like humility, the man on his knees before an impossible standard, beating himself bloody and calling it virtue. I am speaking to the man who is merciless with himself and calls it having high standards. You know the voice. It lets nothing go. A small mistake, and it owns your afternoon. A real failure, and it has material for years. It narrates your shortcomings in the second person with a contempt you would never aim at another living soul. And you have lived beside it so long you mistake it for honesty, for the clear-eyed accounting of a man who refuses to excuse himself. Everyone around you, and likely every therapist you ever sat with, has told you the same thing. Be kinder to yourself. You have low self-worth. Learn to love yourself. It has never worked, not once, because every time you try the kindness on it feels false. It feels like lowering the bar, like letting a guilty man walk, like exactly the softness that would rot you into someone you would despise. So you reject the mercy and take the whip back up, because at least the whip feels true. I will tell you why the kindness never fit. The diagnosis was wrong. The man savage with himself does not suffer from thinking too little of himself. He suffers from a buried, inverted, almost unspeakable form of its opposite. He is not too low, he is too high. He has been holding himself to a standard no human being could meet. Flawlessness, total competence, never failing, never faltering, never being merely and embarrassingly human, and then beating himself bloody every time he turns out to be a man instead of a god. Hear this carefully, because it is the part that stings and the part that frees. The relentless self-cruelty is not humility. It is pride wearing humility's robes. Real humility is the power to be a flawed human being and not be destroyed by it, to fail and learn and remain. What you have is the refusal to be a flawed human being at all. You set the bar where only the perfect could clear it, and then you read your inevitable humanity as a moral catastrophe. That is not lowliness. That is a man who cannot accept that he is not exceptional in every dimension in every moment, and who punishes himself for the unbearable crime of having limits. This is the wound of the man built for transcendence who turned it into a prison. There is a real and beautiful thing in you, a reach toward the highest, a hunger to rise, to be more than ordinary. That reach is holy, but somewhere it curdled into a demand that you must be flawless to be worthy, that anything less than perfect is shameful, that the gap between what you are and what you should be is a debt to be paid in self-punishment. And so the gift meant to lift you became the rod you flog yourself with. You took the longing for the heights and built it into a courtroom where you stand perpetually accused of the crime of being human. Watch how it moves in you, because it wears two faces. One man turns the cruelty inward and collapses beneath it, paralyzed, never finishing, never shipping, because nothing he makes could meet the standard, so he drowns in self-measurement and names himself a failure. The other turns it outward and goes rigid with righteousness, holding everyone else to the same impossible bar, contemptuous of ordinary people and ordinary effort, mistaking his perfectionism for discernment and his harshness for integrity. The same wound. One devours himself, the other indicts the world. Neither has done the actual thing, which is to come down off the impossible standard and rejoin the human race. So the work is not to lower your standards, and it is not to force-feed yourself an affirming kindness you do not believe. You would reject both, and you would be half right to. The work is to see the pride hiding inside the self-cruelty, to understand that demanding your own perfection is not virtue but the subtlest arrogance, the refusal to accept the limits every real and good human being lives within. The work is to discover that holiness was never about being flawless. Wholeness contains the flaw. The integrated man is not the one who finally became perfect. He is the one who stopped requiring it and became real instead. I wrote of this man in Awaken Your Shadow, the transcendent self, and the tragic perfectionist he becomes when the reach for the heights turns into a war against his own humanity. If that voice in your head recognized itself tonight, that is where the road continues. You are not hard on yourself because you are worthless. You are hard on yourself because you cannot forgive yourself for being a man instead of a god. Lay it down, not the standard, the impossibility, and you will find that the thing you called honesty was only ever pride that learned to speak in the language of shame. But seeing all of that and laying it down are two different things, because the standard was not installed in your reasoning, and reason has never once talked you off it. Here's the secret underneath everything on this channel. Every pattern you've ever fought, the anger, the anxiety, the sabotage, comes from one exile. One, something in you was banished before you were old enough to object, and this exile has been running your life from the dark ever since. This exile is the reason insight fades by morning. It's the reason discipline holds for 3 weeks and then folds. It overrides intelligence, willpower, even faith, because the part of you that was banished took your power with it when it left. This exile lives in the body, and the body opens its gates at night when the defenses finally come down. This is why I created the Somatic Shadow Work Sleep Learning series. Each meditation in this series dives into a different dimension of your inner self. As you relax and listen, you'll feel the fears, insecurities, and limitations of your daily life begin to dissolve. With daily repetition, a sharper and more self-assured version of you will begin to emerge. This higher self has been within you all along, awaiting its activation. You'll find a link to this Somatic Shadow Work series below this video, or simply click the video that shows up in the final screen of this one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more like it.